Both real life and cinema have taught us a vital lesson. Love alone is not enough. To go the distance together, we also need money. Even a great deal of money. Us and Them, Blue Valentine, and La La Land have made us bitterly realize the ending of poetic love stories that lack financial footing. It is a vicious cycle of arguments, loneliness, distance, and regret, when in the end, they have everything but each other. Materialists, translated literally, is about people who follow materialism, and its content is perfectly true to its name. The economic equation is a soft but sharp slap to the face of pure romanticism. Much like Celine Song's previous film, Past Lives, once you step into the world of materialists, it will be very difficult to escape the charm of dialogues that are cold and rational, yet incredibly refined. Harsh truths about love are bared so nakedly that they become impossible to evade. So, is being pragmatic in love right or wrong, in a society where materialism is increasingly dominant? Is there a way to solve the issue of money, a delicate yet existential problem in a relationship? Materialists tells the story of Lucy Mason, a young woman working as a matchmaker for couples living in New York, a job that has made her clearly understand the value of appearance, money, and modern dating standards. On a fateful day, Lucy happens to meet Harry Castillo, a wealthy, elegant man who immediately expresses his intention to pursue her. At the same time, she unexpectedly runs into John Kitts, the poor ex-boyfriend she once loved deeply. Since this is a film that talks much about material value in a relationship, I will introduce the three main characters in order from high to low, based on how society in Materialists appraises them. Ranked first is certainly Harry, whom Lucy calls the unicorn partner. Harry's family works in the financial investment industry. From the time of his grandfather and parents to his turn, assets have continued to reproduce like a golden starfruit tree, heavy with fruit. It is because people like Harry actually exist in the world that Lucy's clients cannot lower the standards they have set for their dream archetypes. Like a limited edition Birkin bag, Harry is a rare commodity so desired that many women ignore the fact that the probability of loving someone like that is unimaginably small. Look at the first moment Harry appears. He makes everyone around him pay attention. There was a sophisticated woman around Harry's age who was eagerly waiting for him to notice her. However, Harry aimed right at the target he considered most perfect. Lucy, a woman in her 30s who is mature and experienced enough, but of course, still much younger than him. Next is Lucy. She has an elegant appearance like a beautiful doll on a display shelf that caught Harry's attention. She is an outstanding employee at the Adore company because of her successful matchmaking and sharp intuition. Lucy can soothe the heart of a bride who wants to cancel her wedding by convincing her that the upcoming marriage is a very reasonable investment deal. Lucy's success in the profession comes from her eloquence and the pragmatic belief that love and material wealth are two inseparable sides. When Harry asks Lucy what kind of man she wants to marry, Lucy does not hesitate to answer, rich, unbelievably rich, painfully rich. She says directly what many have thought but dared not admit. Lucy understands the value of money because she grew up in poverty and is still struggling to make a living with a massive debt on her shoulders. If she continues with someone, Lucy wants to calculate carefully and bet on the wealthiest man she can find. And Harry has proven to be more than what she expected. Lucy knows she is not a commodity of equal price to Harry because an invisible gap in status exists between them. However, Harry has convinced Lucy that he sees the sustainable value of a life partner in her. When he doesn't have to worry about anything material, Harry needs an intelligent, understanding woman with superb eloquence to keep him company for a lifetime. Lucy accepted entering a relationship with Harry with the sobriety of a person who once poured her whole heart into loving a poor artist for 5 years. The third main character is John. If Harry looks at love like a long-term investment with a reliable financial commitment for his partner, then John, Lucy's ex-lover, loves as if he has nothing to lose. Because, to put it bluntly, he has no assets in his hands. John becomes a choice with too much risk for any woman. John represents the penniless romantics, like a commodity lying quietly on a discount shelf that no one chooses. The only thing he can give Lucy is love and freedom, but that alone is not enough. Already 37 years old, John still works a part-time service job at a restaurant to support himself when he doesn't have a new acting role. Lucy's world becomes increasingly well-groomed and luxurious, while John remains disheveled and unstable, just as when the two were in love. John's problem is that no matter how much effort he puts in, he is still very far from Harry's position. John does not have any springboard to cling to for his life to improve. His life is a loop of loud arguments due to lacking living conditions that no mature woman wants to experience. A similarity in Celine Song's two works is that the female director lets her characters be in their mid-30s and 40s. This is not a coincidence, because that is the stage where youth has just departed, while the future ahead remains an unknown. Today's choice can decide the remaining half of one's life. There is a dialogue between John and Lucy about the nature of marriage like this. Why do people keep getting married anyway? Because there will be a day, for no major reason, those two people start to hate each other, will resent each other, and look down on each other. After the children are born, they will gradually get tired of each other. Then one of the two will have an affair, then argue incessantly. Initially, they try not to argue in front of the kids, but then they can't restrain themselves and argue in front of them, just like their parents used to do. They resent themselves and the other for making everything go bad. They file for divorce, fight over assets and children, until everything is broken. So why do people still keep marrying each other? Perhaps it's because others told them they should, because they feel too lonely, and at times they once hoped they would do better than their parents did before.
Clearly, marriage is a story that needs careful calculation. A perfect couple must have the same educational background.
Best of all, they should be raised in families with solid finances. Just a little more physical attraction, and there will certainly be a wedding. Perhaps that is also the reason why Lucy's clients find it so hard to find a life partner. They demand a wonderful partner and never agree to lower their standards, while they themselves still have many shortcomings, because their heads already have specific requirements for the other person. But isn't it true that all humans have flaws and are incredibly unpredictable? Having a beautiful profile cannot guarantee that it is a trustworthy person with a warm heart. Sophie, a close client of Lucy, was assaulted after the first date with Mark, the man who met all the standards Sophie was looking for. At this point, Lucy finally understands that all the standards set out to choose a partner for clients revolve around appearance and material wealth, not love. Romance is a gamble that an investor like Harry also feels is too risky to step into. So how to solve this difficult problem in the safest way? In Before Sunset, the character Celine said to Jesse after many years apart that when we are young, we think there will be many people who give us the feeling we can bond with and be close to. But only much later, when we are old, do we realize that it only happens a few times in a lifetime. A friend of mine once said that at this age, she no longer believes in love at first sight. That seems a bit irrational, but she still believes the feeling of meeting someone for the first time is very important. In that way, from the very moment they see each other, there is an affection, even without knowing anything about the other person. Perhaps when standing before love, we have nothing to use as capital except for faith in vague things like destiny, and then let emotions lead the way. Material security is a part of ensuring that emotions can soar, and vice versa. Lucy and John once argued in the middle of the street over $25 for parking, before their love story fell apart. Meanwhile, Harry easily signs checks to pay for meals in the kitchens of Nobu and Sushi Ichimura, high-end restaurants that are symbols of luxury in New York.
The only thing is, for Harry, dining here is a daily occurrence, while Lucy is not used to it.
She is tense because she keeps calculating how many days of salary this meal is equivalent to. Aside from appearance and good initial impressions, Lucy and Harry are constantly out of sync when learning about each other's backgrounds. Harry's parents never argued about money. He doesn't even understand why couples have to raise their voices in the street. Harry owns a tens of millions of dollars penthouse in the Tribeca area, the residence of superstars and incredibly wealthy investors, with interiors as beautiful as an art gallery. Submerged in his luxurious apartment, Lucy's confidence vanishes. She only gazes, not daring to touch anything. Items like that look back at and appraise Lucy, seeing if she is worthy of being part of this expensive collection. After knowing each other for less than a month, Harry has already prepared a diamond ring to propose. Discovering that, Lucy sighs. Instead of feeling happy, she has a vague fear that if she ties herself to Harry, there will come a time when she is like a commodity with depreciation greater than the product's value, and Harry will feel she is no longer worth him spending more money on. In other words, if she wants to be with Harry, Lucy must constantly try to upgrade herself and labor diligently on the material scale to feel commensurate with him, because their distance was too far from the start. Lucy voluntarily stepped into a relationship that brings a sense of material security. However, all her choices are dominated by the weight of social pressure and expectations. To better explain the relationship between Lucy and Harry, it is like the omakase-style restaurant where they dine. The principle when enjoying dishes here is no menu, no asking for prices. Instead of ordering for yourself, You are not allowed to do that, and do not need to talk about your palate or preferences. You just observe, wait to receive the dish from the chef's hand, and enjoy it with total trust. In other words, that high-end culinary experience requires you to give total control into the hands of the cook.
It is just like the fact that Harry can bring Lucy luxury beyond her expectations, but he wants everything to always be within his control. Many viewers after watching the film commented that they felt Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal's characters did not create the chemistry of a couple. I think that is exactly the director's intention, because Harry and Lucy are playing the roles of a perfect couple instead of two people madly in love. Everyone wants to keep the best image of themselves in the eyes of the other. So the thing we love is just our illusion, not their true self. And usually it is the things we don't tell each other that become the things that kill the relationship in the future. Lucy's sense of insecurity is so great that she stays awake to check the scar on Harry's leg. While he, as it turns out, also cannot sleep for fear Lucy will find out he once had surgery to increase his height by 15 centimeters. Harry admits the surgery changed his life. Women who wouldn't even look at him before are now desiring him. Meanwhile, Lucy, though not wealthy, also invested in a nose job and breast implants. An attractive appearance makes us feel more valuable. However, all that still cannot brush aside the truth that they do not love each other. And no matter how much money there is in the world, it cannot change that. Love, it turns out, is the most expensive thing. Celine's song always knows how to tell a story subtly through very small details. And if you pay very close attention, viewers will realize Lucy's choice could hardly be different. When John suddenly appears with the type of drink Lucy likes, Coke mixed with beer, that beer glass is only a little more than half full. John understands Lucy to the point he knows how much harmony between the two types of drinks is enough for her palate. And Lucy couldn't restrain herself from hugging John tightly. The atmosphere Harry and John felt at that moment was extremely awkward. Only Lucy was completely immersed in the moment of reunion. Lucy still cannot deny the truth that she craves a pure love. Her relationship with John keeps merging and then splitting because the core, the emotion for each other, is too clear. But John is too poor to love, and Lucy is too pragmatic to be with him. Every moment he looks at Lucy, John suffers seeing beforehand that his cheap eateries, cramped apartment, and ragged old car will cling tightly to Lucy's life with no escape. No one knows when John will have a stable career. It could be that just 1 month from now, they will again argue in the middle of the street over $25 to park the car at Times Square. We cannot know, and neither can Lucy. Materialists does not give an answer to the question of whether to choose love or material wealth. The film retells the story of 3 characters so that each person can look deep within themselves to find a suitable answer. The past, experiences, and relationships encountered in life cause each of us to have different choices, and no choice is wrong. Because life has no perfect choice, only people steadfast enough to make their choice worth it. I still remember the character of Elio's father in Call Me By Your Name, saying that we often try to heal wounds so quickly that we are emotionally exhausted before age 30, and then, when entering a new relationship, our hearts have nothing left to give. It is such a pity when we once tried to become numb to the pain that love brings, only to then feel nothing at all anymore. Perhaps the scariest thing is that one day our hearts become calloused. There will be people like Harry who fear being hurt, fear that love will turn them into a fool. There are also people like Lucy, who choose to return to the only person who makes her realize she still knows how to love. Up to here, I would like to end with the letter of blessing from an old couple at the wedding Lucy attended. Love is the last religion, the only ideal sanctuary left in this life. So what else do we have to truly believe in besides it? There are times we will be lost and lose our way. That's life. In those moments, the answer is actually very simple. Go toward where the love is.